Hey, it's Mazzy here, and let's talk the Grateful Dead. I'm going to rank the Grateful Dead records, and here's where I'm coming from, and here's how I'm going to do it. Native San Franciscan, grew up with the Grateful Dead. My two favorite bands growing up in the San Francisco psychedelic scene were the Jefferson Airplane and the Grateful Dead, and I gave the Airplane an edge early on, but I'm a huge Dead fan. I first saw the Dead on Haight Street, that infamous show where they're playing on the back of a flatbed truck by the Straight Theater on Haight Street. And that was in early 1968. I think it was March or April, March, I think, of 1968. My buddies and I rode to Golden Gate Park, which Haight Street intersects with the park, literally 5 blocks from where I was born, on the edge of the Haight Street on Stanion Street. So that was my first time. Saw him again in 69 with the Jefferson Airplane at the Polo Fields in Golden Gate Park, and then about 30 times over the course of their lifetime as the Grateful Dead. Never saw the later incarnations after Jerry died. So I saw them about 4 times with Pigpen. I saw them throughout the 70s. My last show was up till then was 1980, and then I saw them again once in 1989, and that was it. I saw so many shows of the various incarnations and solo projects: Jerry Garcia and Merle Sanders, Jerry Garcia's band, Bob Weir, Kingfish, Kritzman. I saw the acoustic at the Family Dog and was at 71 at that great live Record Store Day album. But what I'm doing here is I'm going to rank the video of Grateful Dead albums that I love, and I'm using only the records that came out while the Dead released them in order of their career, not later projects of vintage recordings that would come out over the years, because there's a plethora from Dick's Picks and all the various official bootlegs and archive recordings, and the Dead has an amazing mass, variety of recorded material, obviously. Now, I'm sure some of you are watching are these Deadheads that know everything from, the other one on October 1976 at the Beacon, they played an extra this and an extra drum solo that, and I don't nitpick, and I'm not into that. I'm into the main records here for the sake of this, an introduction to some people who may not know the Dead. And again, this is one person's opinion, my opinion. You can do your opinion at any time. You can list it below. And I'm doing these actual 19 records. Now, they actually made 22 records in the course of this, and 3 of them I just don't have. 2 of them I did have, and for some reason they got it got removed along the way. I suppose I should have them for the sake of completion, but I don't have the 1978 record Shakedown Street, which is considered sort of their disco record, produced by Lowell George. Wasn't a fan of it, and in my mid-90s vinyl purge, that went away. So that's not included here. The 1980 version Dead Set, for some reason I never picked that up, and I would probably include that, and it might be at a good level because I saw those shows at the Warfield Theater, and that's sort of a companion piece to an earlier one called Reckoning, which was the acoustic set, which I absolutely adore. So that's not here, and Built to Last, the 1989 version on Arista Records, I do not have here. So those 3 I have to push aside, and you may say, well, come on, Maslov, you can't do a rankings without doing a complete. Well, this is my ranking. These are from my collection, what I have. Now, I'll say one caveat. I saw the Dead so many times, and I really love them. Of course, compared to these people, and maybe you and you and you and you, that saw them 50 times, that saw them 300 times, 6,000 times, I'm not there. So I'm concentrating on these albums. Obviously, we all know that a lot of their live stuff is like the stuff that people really kind of zero in on. But there's some others here. So let's start with number 19. Let's get right into this. The bottom of my list is Dylan and the Dead, this live tour that Bob Dylan did with the Grateful Dead. This came out in 1988, I believe, 88 or so. Now, I was really looking forward to this. I never saw the tour, and I remember buying this the week it came out. I was so disappointed. I think anticipation was so high because I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan and a Dead fan. I thought this would be just brilliant, and I think it's a piece of crap. And I did revisit it recently for the sake of you all and my own, validation. Do I really hate this as much? And I would say yes. I think it's terrible, but I know some people like it, and that's fair. Just for me, this is number 19, Dylan and the Dead. Coming in at number 18 is Go to Heaven. I mean, just the cover alone, I can put this at the bottom. They do Don't Ease Me In, a traditional song, and I love when Jerry sort of takes on these traditional songs. He's done it a lot in his solo career and some of the songbook type things, and he does his take on it. There's some nice playing on this record. I'm not a fan of Brent Midland vocals at all, and for some reason, I don't know why, that to me, except for Pigpen, I don't think that Dead have any good singing keyboardists. I mean, get a piano player that can sing. I think the Dead always needed another great vocalist. I like Jerry's vocalist. Bob Weir has interesting vocals that, when he shines, he shines. And then, of course, there's Phil Lesh, which sometimes it works for Phil Lesh from my point of view. This record sounds good. I think the songwriting is the weakest part of this, but the playing is excellent. But again, this is number 18 on my 19 rankings Grateful Dead video. Coming in number 17, Steal Your Face. Now, this is actually a good record. I attended 3 of these shows. They did a series of, 4 or 5 shows at Winterland in 1974. I made the mistake of taking my girlfriend at the time to the very first show, and she was sort of a Grateful Dead virgin. I had seen them already a bunch of times prior to this, and I hyped it up, and she was bored as hell, and after about an hour and 15 minutes, we had to leave. It was one of those nights, you can imagine. However, I went to 2 other nights with friends, and I really liked this show. I think this recording specifically takes a little while for them to warm up, but I do like it. Of course, I had gone to at the Cow Palace, the Wall of Sound show, and when they were with their system, their huge system. This was as they were, they had their own label on Grateful Dead Records, and putting out obviously Wake of the Flood and the series of records, which I'll get to a little later, on their own label after leaving Warner Brothers and prior to signing with Arista. This is a good record. Now, a lot of these things with the live records, most of who are Dead freaks, Deadheads, there were subsequent packages, CDs, dick pics, box sets, record store day boxes that have the full or the complete shows. And I love those, but that's not what this video is about. So, Steal Your Face, The Grateful Dead, and this is coming in at number 17. Coming number 16 is a record I go hot and cold with, and that's Terrapin Station. And this is a promo copy I got because I had friends. I was in record business when all these records were coming out. And this is on Arista Records, and this is banded for radio play because side 2 has this huge Terrapin Station suite that flows through. And of course, when it's banded, it means so the DJ can pick a segment if they don't want to play the whole, 20 minutes, whatever it is, on this. There's some stuff, Estimated Profit, Samson Delilah, Dancing in the Streets. I know those kind of songs, Dancing in the Streets, are crowd pleasers at Dead shows, but I don't think the Dead do dance, disco, soul music very well. And I know they do it in their way, and I just think that's, to me, a clunker on this record. Although it was a favorite, and they played it a lot on their tours. So, Grateful Dead, Terrapin Station. Of course, now in San Rafael, California, Phil Lesh has a restaurant club venue called Terrapin Station, which is kind of interesting. And Bob Weir has the one in Mill Valley, Sweetwater. He's a co-owner of that. So if you go to Marin County, you Deadheads, you probably already know this. There's a lot of venues. Coming in number 15, In the Dark, Arista, the big hit of A Touch of Grey, which was all over MTV. With the giant marionettes singing as the Grateful Dead skeletons. That's a really great pop record. This is where the Grateful Dead successfully, from my opinion, fused AM pop radio with the great sensibilities of the band. And I really like that. It's succinct, to the point, produced by Jerry Garcia and John Cutler. I think this is successful for the most part. There's a few, again, I'm not a fan of the Brent Midland stuff and vocals, but I like this record. So Grateful Dead record, again, we're talking 19 records here, so none of these are dogs. The dogs I've left off, except for Dylan and the Dead. That's a dog from my point of view. So this is number 15. Okay, coming in number 14, a great live set from 1989, Without a Net. This is a really great record. This has been kind of rare it needs to be a single reissue at this point. But I love this. This is a 3-record set on vinyl. I've had the CD for many years. And this, I believe this is the one with Branford Marsalis is in it. There's, again, expanded box set that came out just in the last 5 years, 6 years or so for Record Store Day. But this is a good live set, and I love this period. This is the period I last saw the Grateful Dead in 1989 on the West Coast, though. I think some of these, I'm forgetting exactly where this was recorded, but this is a fine set. So Without a Net, highly recommended Grateful Dead, but they need to put it out as an individual release on vinyl again, because it's kind of pricey. I think it's in the Vinyl Me Please box set if you're into that type of thing, which is going to have a reprint, by the way, on vinyl. Okay, coming in number 13, the Grateful Dead were plugging along. This is Blues for Allah. This is a promo copy I got. I got a lot of these records because I was working in retail at the time, the record stores at the time. And this is on their own label. Now, there was a whole slew, just to show you a little side view before I get into the record. I got these because I worked in the record business, and they brought these in, Grateful Dead people from San Rafael, from Marin, brought these little promo cards in, and we had tons of these. And I got some in the mail too at the same time. These were repro covers of records that came out on Grateful Dead records, Donna and Keith and Donna actually. Here's the original hype sticker from this record. The Kingfish record cover. Again, another Keith and Donna. This is the Robert Hunter project, the lyricist for the Grateful Dead. And this is all new stuff, a promo from one of their other records. So I have this slipped in here. I like this record. This is number 13 on my list, but it's really a good record. Beautiful cover. I love that violin playing Skull and Roses character. Helping on the Way, Franklin's Tower became sort of a staple. King Solomon's Marble. The Music Never Stopped. Good record. Not my favorite, but a good record. Had a good flow. A handful of these songs were staples in their live shows subsequent to this record. So coming in at number 13, Grateful Dead, Blues for Allah. Coming at number 12, I mentioned this before, and I love this record. I mean, it's low just because they had so many great records. And 12 is not low when you think about it. Come on. Reckoning is the live show from 1980, and I was at one of these shows. This is recorded over several nights they played at the Winterland when they did a live set and an acoustic set. And this album, Reckoning, is the acoustic set. And if you get a chance to get this record, it's highly, highly recommended. I love the sound of this. It's got a great feel. Jerry Garcia obviously, came from the whole bluegrass sound, country sound, roots music, obviously with Old and in the Way, obviously with their 1970 records, which I'll talk about, American Beauty and Working Man's Dead later. There's that kind of country rootsy feel, and I love when they take their songs and do that. They just sound really, really great. So I'm including this Reckoning because I just absolutely adore this set, and it was also a show I was at. Now, sometimes that sort of influences your opinion on something. When you buy a record from a live show that you attended, it adds something to it. So this is kind of a fun record, and it has a really great sound. Amazing recording, great sound. Winterland, San Francisco. Oh, some of it also was recorded at the Radio City Music Hall. I had forgotten. So I don't know what cuts were here that I actually witnessed, if any, live. Now, following up with that, it's kind of something that almost goes along with that. And this is Bear's Choice Volume 1. Again, this is Owsley. They're a great sound engineer. They're a great supplier of the primo acid known to mankind in America at the time, probably in the world at the time. The promo copy that I got right when it came out, this came out in 1973. So this is one of the early promos I got when I first started working at a record store in San Francisco. And I adore this record. So this is also an acoustic record, fabulous sound. So in a way, different times, but has the same feel to this. I give this the edge because I like this period of the Dead somewhat more than this period, but it kind of has the same kind of feel. It was going to be a series. That's why it's called Volume 1. And of course, they never actually put it out as a series. But I love this, and this is my white label promo copy, which I'm very, I just love having. And it sounds tremendous. Ooh, and I kept an envelope in here. What is this? Dear Deadhead, this is from September 4th, 1973. There are 2 reasons for writing you now. First, to give you the earliest specific information on our new record distribution program. Okay, so this is from a little later. This is when they did Grateful Dead records, and they sent this out to some real retailers in September 1973. So it's cool that I got this. And oh, this was sent to my house. Fan Grateful Dead. Sent to my house. Kind of cool. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, boys. Okay. Now, number 10. We're in the top 10. Grateful Dead's top 10 rankings according to moi. The Grateful Dead, Wake of the Flood. This is the debut album on their own label. They left Warner Brothers Records. They were finally on a roll after losing so much money with Warner Brothers. That's a story for another day, for another channel to tell you all about that. Seek it out. It's an interesting story because they were financing these huge tours and they finally started making money after years of not making money. But to Warner Brothers' credit, Warner Brothers was one of the best labels that stuck with artists. Think of artists. I mean, Van Morrison was one, but he actually was selling records. Randy Newman, Ry Cooder, Grateful Dead, Bonnie Raitt. So many artists they stuck with for 5, 6, Little Feat, 7, 8 albums that didn't sell a lot, but they really nurtured the artistic side of artists. And even with the Grateful Dead, even spending so much money on recording and touring and their big sound system, they were losing money. But they decided they were doing everything else themselves with their own booking and concert touring. They decided to start their own label. Initially, they were going to distribute it themselves, but then soon after, they realized they need a distribution network. So they were distributed by United Artists Records. Now, this is an original copy. The original copy didn't have the song titles on the back. Those were added later. And again, I have some of the same inserts I kept sticking in these albums. An original copy, and it has Mississippi Half Step Uptown Toodaloo by Hunter and Garcia, which is a great shuffle. Jerry Garcia was really great with this old-timey shuffle. I love his version on his second solo album of Russian's Lullaby. It has just a great, it's kind of a jazzy feel. The Grateful Dead had that. And of course, a lot of these songs, they would appear live on their tours. And not just their psychedelic jams and space jams and the R&B stuff they did and the country stuff they did. I really like when they got into this rootsy kind of jazzy sound. Let Me Sing Your Blues Away also. It's a Hunter Godchaux song. Stella Blue is a gorgeous song. Here Comes Sunshine. But Weather Report Suite is sort of the Bob Weir ongoing suite, which is really nice. It's a great, almost Spanish guitar intro. But I quite like this record. It made my top 10 here. And we're down to the top 10 records. And this is the Grateful Dead's debut on their own label. Coming at number 9. Now, I did a video, a psychedelic video, and I did not have this album in my top psychedelic San Francisco videos. It's my most popular video. I'll put a link to that below too. And I ranked my favorite psychedelic San Francisco albums from the late 60s. And I did not include Anthem of the Sun. And I got the most heated response from not including Anthem of the Sun. I really like this record, but it's not one of my favorite Dead records, but it's really good. Now, this is the original copy, and what's wonderful about this record, early on, this is something that I got turned on to, not just psychedelia, but avant-garde, by minimalists, by artists like neo early classical, like Terry Riley and Stockhausen and John Cage and Tom Constantin. Tom Constantin brings in prepared piano. And when this album came out, I had no idea what prepared piano was. And prepared piano is when you get a piano, you literally lie things on the strings. Sometimes you will open up the top of the piano and pull the strings. You'll put, books on it and tambourines on it and weird things, and it's sort of an atonal ambient sound. And there's a lot of this mixed in here, so it's spacey beyond the psychedelia. And what's interesting about this record too, which actually I quite like, it's recorded in the studio and on location, and they mixed both the live recordings with the studio recordings. So it's really interesting. Pigpen is still on it. This is Mickey Hart is added to Bill Kreutzmann, so two drummers, and it makes it even more interesting. This is the original before it was remixed. In the early 70s, there is a remix version of this record that came out. And this originally came out in 1968, and I quite like it. I like it. But again, it's not my, there's others I like better. The remix album, they try to make it a little more palatable to some people and more accessible. I have the remix I used to have the remix on vinyl. I should have kept it, which is really too bad because it's an original from 70, I think it was 73 it came out. It was after they were getting more momentum with the Europe 72. But I do have it on CD, both the original and the remix version. So coming at number 9, this is Anthem of the Sun, The Grateful Dead. I love that circular shot. Jim Marshall, I believe. Is that Jim Marshall photograph? Could be, maybe not. Coming at number 8. Now, I almost put Anthem before this, but for some reason, to me, I listened to this one more. And this is the Mars Hotel. This is the original version because this was heavily bootlegged, and there was an embossed authentic here, which is probably hard to see on this video. They were going to name this Ugly Rumors. Of course, it says Ugly Rumors right there if you turn it upside down. The Mars Hotel was this derelict sort of daily hotel, resident hotel that was on 4th Street in San Francisco. Now it's replaced by Moscone Center, the convention center. Jack Kerouac lived there for a while, but I used to go by here all the time. And I have a picture somewhere of the Mars Hotel. I wish I kept it. This is a fantastic sounding record too. This is sort of a recreation illustration of the Dead from a photograph of them in a residential hotel in the Tenderloin, I believe, as I recall. But Scarlet Begonias, Ship of Fools, Pride of Cucamonga, Loose Lucy, U.S. Blues, Unbroken Chain. 2 really good Phil Lesh songs on here. The recording of the bass is beautiful. This is a fantastic record. I quite like this. This is almost my favorite. This actually is my favorite of the Grateful Dead label records. So not almost, it is. Grateful Dead from the Mars Hotel. Love it. 1974. Grateful Dead records. Okay, coming in at number 7. A lot of times I rate this one higher because it was a special record to me, and that's the Grateful Dead's debut, Grateful Dead. This is probably their most pop garage record, succinct, to the point, not long jams, great songs. The original opening song, The Golden Road to Unlimited Devotion, should have been a hit single. It was played on the radio in San Francisco, on AM radio actually, but it never really kind of did anything beyond that. Maybe some local places where you live possibly played it. Great song. Cream Puff Wars, great song. Sitting on Top of the World, of course, the cover of that great blues song, Cold Rain and Snow. Morning Dew, Viola Lee Blues, that's the long jammy song on here. So there is a little bit of that to end the album. But I love this cover. I love this album. This was an album that I was homesick one day, and my mom was going to the store, and she said, "Do you want anything at the store?" I said, "Well, you could go to the record store," because it was in this mall that she went to, and get the album by the Grateful Dead. She thought that name of a band was hysterical and a little strange, but she brought this exact copy home to me. One thing I will say, those of you who do collect records, and I'm not getting into pressings too much, most of my Grateful Dead records here, especially the Warner Brothers stuff, are original pressings that came out as they came out and when they came out. And I'm going to just give a shout out and a promo to the Green Label Warner Brothers records. These sound better than any other version. I've heard MoFi, I've heard reissues, remasters, and I would say my records are in great shape. I think the Green Label original Warner Brothers versions of these great, not just Grateful Dead records, like Van Morrison record, Randy Newman, I mean, Green Label, for some reason, almost every record, and I'm sure there's some that are exceptions, just sound beautifully. Over the last week, I've been replaying all these records. Anthem of the Sun, the Green Label, Exomoxia, Green Label, this Green Label, the two 1970 records we'll get to in a little bit. They sound fantastic, so I highly recommend them, Grateful Dead. Now, coming in at number 6, Skull and Roses, that's the nickname for this album. It's self-titled, Grateful Dead. This just has a great live groove to it. I'm a big fan of Live Dead, which is more psychedelic, more dreamy at some point. They started, putting together more songs and some of their cover songs they were doing. Me and my uncle, Big Boss Man, obviously. The other one takes up side 2. So actually the Marty Robbins songs are not on here. But around this time, and just beyond this time, in the 1970, 71, 72, they were doing those songs. They were doing these great country songs, like from the Bakersfield sound, and just really good country in their own way. And I just love this record. Of course, the original came out with a sticker, and I no longer have the sticker. It was on my Pinto, my 72 Pinto I put it on once I got my own car. But beautiful record, great sounding record. Again, another Green Label, Warner Brothers, and this is coming in at number 6. Grateful Dead's self-titled double live album, also known as Skull and Roses. Now, coming in number 5, and I almost put this higher, because in a way it could have been, the 1970 could have been the greatest double album, studio double album of the Grateful Dead, but Working Man's Dead. Number 5 is still great. This is a fantastic record. Again, as I said, the Green Label one is the one to get if you can find a clean one. Fantastic. Of course, the way it was originally pressed and covered, it's backwards, so you flip it this way. That's the correct way. So if you think it was put on backwards, you have a rare one. No, that's the way it was issued. What a beautiful package. What beautiful illustrations. The feel of this record on this textured sort of craft paper. It's just, this is like a South of Market bar, as I believe, or I think, as I recall. But this has a lot of songs that would become staples. Uncle John's Band, New Speedway Boogie, which is a beautiful song. Cumberland Blues, Casey Jones, of course. Easy Wind, Direwolf. As I talk about this record right now, I want to push it up higher. I want it to be higher. I almost put this and American Beauty as a twofer, but they're separate albums. But think about it, 1970, the Grateful Dead recorded these 2 great studio albums that I think some people missed at the time. I bought these as they came out, but that whole country rock thing, in a way, it is that. Folk, country, rock, not even psychedelic, wasn't really a big thing. The Byrds had tried it, 2 years earlier. Beau Brummels in 68 as well. Bands were starting to do it. Bands like Poco, obviously, then, a couple years later, the Eagles and so many others, the folk singer-songwriter thing. This is a perfect record. Why is it low? Well, number 5 is not low. It's just a wonderful record. Working Man's Dead, number 5 in my top list of Grateful Dead albums ranked. Coming in number 4, Exomoxia. This is a fantastic record. Now, when I did my last, again, that San Francisco video, everyone said Anthem is better than this album. And I again, played these back to back again, literally 2 nights ago. And I don't agree. This, as spacey as that is, and I love that spacey avant-garde sound to that, this is the better songwriting. This is a fantastic recorded record. This is a wonderful sounding record. As I recall, this is when they went to 16-track, I believe. And, it has St. Stephen, China Cat Sunflower, Dupree's Diamond Blues, Cosmic Charlie. The spaciest thing on here is this long piece, What's Become of the Baby, which is pretty ethereal and pretty out there. But remember, around this time, everyone was doing it, from the Beatles with Revolution number 9 to everyone would have some spacey, to the Stones with Satanic Majesties, have a sound effect, kind of ambient, ethereal recording on their records mixed within these great songs. But this has some of their best written songs that would be staples. Mountains of the Moon is a gorgeous acoustic piece on here, but I just thoroughly love that. Again, the great sort of round photograph here by Thomas Weir, brother of, I think. This is 1969. Exomoxia, love this record, love the great artwork cover. Again, a Green Label Warner Brothers record, but love this record, number 4. Coming in number 3, this album to me was a changing point for the Grateful Dead, and people finally got it. People who maybe, they got the first album and it had, and Exomoxia and Anthem of the Sun, but in 1969, Live Dead. This is a fantastic record. This really epitomized what the Dead were about, what they were becoming, their long jams. This is a key record in their history, and this is an important record. And obviously these recordings are expanded, and you can get the wonderful versions later. This starts out with side 1, an entire 23-minute version of Dark Star, which would epitomize everything. It has St. Stephen and the 11 on here. Turn On Your Love Light, which is a whole side of bluesy, great Pigpen, and all these other great tracks on the final side. This, as I said earlier, that's the Hate Street show I saw in 1968. Live Dead. Incredible live album. Probably one of their most important records in terms of their history. Obviously, a lot of these records have been replaced by extended live things, but you edit it down, you put it together, you come out with this fantastic, important record in the Grateful Dead's catalog. Coming in number 2, American Beauty. Another perfect record. As I said when I was showing Working Man's Dead, these could have been like a perfect double album, but they're perfect single albums. They both have that wonderful country feel. I go back and forth of which I like better. So this is higher this time, maybe another time Working Man's Dead would be higher. I just love this cover. This, to me, is the perfect Grateful Dead artwork on here. And it's just really stunning. It's by Anton Kelly and Kelly Mouse Studios, who did a lot of the Grateful Dead stuff. This is recorded at Wally Hyder's studio in San Francisco on Hyde Street in San Francisco in the Tenderloin. And it's just got a beautiful sound. Of course, Boxer Rain, this beautiful Phil Lesh Hunter song. Friend of the Devil, one of the great country songs the Grateful Dead ever made. And that's co-written with Dawson from New Riders of the Purple Sage. Another band I saw many times with Jerry Garcia sitting and playing pedal steel. Sugar Magnolia, Operator, Candyman. Ripple, a beautiful song, beautiful acoustic-based song. Of course, Truckin' it ends up with, which became sort of an anthem, which is a wonderful piece of music. And Addicts of My Life is probably the best harmony, three-part harmony vocals the Grateful Dead ever performed on a record. And it is just stunning piece. It's kind of like Beatles, Because, and that kind of piece of music. And it's just a lovely record. I highly recommend these two 1970 records. Again, at the time, they didn't get as much love that they get now. These are considered two of their best records, this and Working Man's Dead. And people just love these records. And this really introduced, you know, a new sound to people who are into psychedelic and rock and roll and the 60s sound. Again, not the first that did it, but they did it really well. The recordings of The Shine, again, a Green Label, just is a stunning recording. And I just love this record to pieces. 1970 again, American Beauty. Now, coming in number one, there's a lot of reasons I have this at number one, because I would say, some people ask me, I don't have any Dead albums, what album should I get from the Grateful Dead? Is it their best album? Well, it's subjective, but I'm putting Europe 72 at number one for a lot of reasons. First of all, the cover art alone. I bought this record when it came out, 3-record set with blank pictures in here because there's a lovely book inside here. Just a little brief thing of that Europe 72 tour. Now, since this came out, obviously, again, like everything else, there are all these different versions of this album and the Europe 72 tour. This came out with a Paris thing for Record Store Day and everything. But a couple of reasons why this is so great. This really shows some of their best songs at, to me, a peak in the Grateful Dead. I mean, I think if you ask Grateful Dead Deadheads, they'll say 74 is a key year for them. Some will say 89, some will say, you know, I mean, 76. I'm not one to tell to you, but for me, the 68 to 72 period is the sweet spot for my taste and me growing up with the Grateful Dead. And what's interesting about this, not only do you have these great songs like Cumberland Blues, He's Gone, You Win Again, the Hank Williams song, China Cat, Sunflowers on here. I Know You Rider, this is where I fell in love with that. They've done so many versions of that. Brown Eyed Woman, Sugar Magnolia again, Mr. Charlie, Tennessee Jed, Truckin', and, you know, Morning Dew, a lot of the jammy stuff. But what makes this the perfect combination, and some people think it's cheating, there are massive overdubs on this album. They went in the studio and overdubbed a lot and redid a lot of the vocals. So you get that great, beautiful vocal sound. You get the great harmonies. Because, you know, to be honest with you, you listen to like off the board tapes. I love Grateful Dead, but a lot of the stuff, there's like, the singing's not always so great. It's fixed here, but it's fixed here because the band wanted to fix. And there's no, I'm not gonna say cheating. Forget that it's a live album. It's just a great album of some of their best work. Europe 72, obviously from this 1972 tour, 3-record set. You know, if you can find a Green Label original, there are remixes. I think I heard one from about 5 years ago, a Rhino reissue, 6 years ago, whatever it was. I didn't quite love it. It didn't gel as much. The Vinyl Me Please and the box set is much better than that, but you have to buy that whole box set. But if you can find a clean copy of this, I probably played this almost more than any other Dead record, and it's an absolute perfect record. You get the songs, you get the jams, you get the vocals, you get the best of the Grateful Dead, in my opinion. What was the best of the Grateful Dead? You get Donna, God Show, beautiful singing on key here. It just works. It works perfectly. So number one, Europe 72, the Grateful Dead, an amazing record. That's my personal rankings. You know, add your take on it, whatever you think. And if you think differently, that's fine. And we all have our different opinions. Thank you for watching. And there's nothing like a Grateful Dead concert, or there used to be nothing like a Grateful Dead concert. Mazzy loves you.